So I've been working with several projects. The bigger project now that I'm actually working on, it's called the Hmong Children Longitudinal Study, which is looking at children at 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders and their parents. And the idea is really trying to look at their social networks. Okay? And so my hypothesis is that a lot of our refugee and immigrant children oftentimes came from a very thick networks, and oftentimes these thick networks also create a lot of buffer for young people to achieve. But at the same time, when children should grow up with these thick networks, they're oftentimes very busy. Parents oftentimes get involved with a lot of community folks, and oftentimes that actually play out at the cost of the parental involvement. And as such, children, particularly immigrant children, may not have the type of parental involvement that other children have because of these thick networks and obligation in the community. So we'll be looking at that networking component. We actually started at 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade because a lot of the literature actually saying that for children whose first language isn't English, it takes about 5 to 7 years to close the achievement gap. And so we want to begin at that age level and beginning to track their education record and see if they're having the bicultural, biliteracy skills would actually help them close the achievement gap at the long term. And so now I'm beginning to work with just the Hmong first, and my goal is to work with other population who are very similar to the Hmong population, like the Latino, who are also now beginning to expand some of the charter schools in Minnesota, the Somali, Chinese, where we also have charter schools. And as you know, charter schools tend to be the most segregated in regarding to racial and SES. And so I would like to look at again that population of ethnic minority population, beginning with the Hmong population. I think if I have to capture in a word, I would say the achievement gap. Right? So I'm very interested in children's educational outcome, and what is it that predicts or helps certain children to be very successful while other children are actually falling behind, even within the same family. You know, some siblings are doing well while other siblings are not doing so well. And so what is it that actually capture those outcomes? And so my goal is really just trying to tap into the social networks component to understand, or at least contributing to this debate about the achievement gap and looking at the social component of the educational outcome by looking at the clusters of people's networks and whether or not those clusters of networks would actually help or hurt children's education. So that we could actually educate parents and families so that they can adapt some of those and minimize the risk for young people. And I think that would be my goal. It's really trying to ensure that every child grow up in America has that opportunity, and that they stay away from the correctional facility.